Hello everybody, this is Chaplain Ken and you are watching Time with Chaplain Ken. This is about the third take that I've had to do trying to get this post going. Boy, making mistakes this evening, it's kind of fun. So let's see if we can get through this one the first time. I'm your host, Chaplain Kenneth. I know it's been a while since I've been on, but I've got some things that I have to do here in the future, and I'm having to get ready for those things. And so if you can keep me in your prayers, by the way, about those things. They are of a personal nature, so I won't, don't want to bore you with all the nitty-gritty details. But your prayers are yeah, I would appreciate them if you could. So we're still going through the book, Get Out of Your Own Way, by, let me turn that right, Mark Goulston and Philip Goldberg. Very nice book, very good, well written. Good practical advice. Today we're going to go over chapter 6 and getting so angry that you make things worse. Anger is one of my favorite topics I like to talk about because there's so many aspects to it. I love to address anger and people with anger issues and talk about that with them and figure out where it's all coming from and what's underneath it all. Because anger, yeah, there's many different ways you can approach it and look at it. It's so multifaceted. There's the defense mechanism aspect where we use it so we don't feel what we should be feeling, or the initial feeling we have is uncomfortable, and it leaves us a little frightened, perhaps maybe a little powerless. And so the anger gives us that sense of control. It gives us that push. It pushes all the fear and the sadness out of the way, and it gives us a sense that we're back in control. It's a false sense of control, because once you do that, yeah, people are running and scurrying for the corners because you're on a tirade, or nobody wants to be around you. That's me back in the day. So yeah, it's a great topic to talk about and to look at and to process with somebody. There's self-preservation. There's fight or flight. Anger, during wartime can get somebody through a really ugly, terrible moment. Unfortunately, those moments in battle leave people scarred because they have to maintain that anger and that awareness, and the body just doesn't know how to shut that off after a while, or it takes a longer time. And so when they come off a leave and they come home and they're still kind of tense and on point, it's because that defense has been there for so long that it's hard for them to let that go. And eventually the body will let that go, but it does take a while for some, depending on how long you've been in that kind of state. So yeah, working with active duty guys coming back from the war, we were able to process a lot of that stuff with them. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. It is a good thing to talk about if you have those kind of issues with a counselor or a therapist or a good chaplain that knows the stuff, and or a good pastor that knows the stuff and can even work through those kinds of things. But today we're going to focus on one aspect of anger. And have you ever heard of the phrase, they threw the kitchen sink at you or at me? Have you ever had somebody do that to you, where you get into an argument or a discussion, and the other person has so many pent up memories and feelings and things they've been through with you in particular, that they throw everything at you, and eventually get to the point where where you had to come together, because it's usually a succession of things that somebody goes through, and they hold on to it and they hold on to it and they hold on to this one and that one and that one. It goes on and on and on for sometimes years, and eventually when it's time to confront the other person, it's like 20 years of stuff that they start to just vomit it out all over the other person, and it's really unproductive. And so it's hard to not do that, because, well, now your opportunity to unleash. The author writes a story about a lady by the name of Mary, and she was being chided at work. Her co-workers were teasing her. She had gotten pregnant, and there were comments about her breastfeeding, taking time off, coming back to work, and having a different position. They weren't treating her the same way. Well, she could have done one of two things. She could have kitchen sinked them. She could have held on to it and let it explode at one moment, but she didn't want to do that. She could have held it onto it and buried it and stuffed it inside, and you stuff things so much inside you when you can't express yourself, that it comes out Yeah, it comes out in your behaviors, and you don't even know where they come from. And you're thinking, why am I acting this way? Well, it's because a lot of times we stuff so much stuff inside, and it has to get out somehow. And usually it's through some sort of behaviors that are not healthy for you. So, or she could have just suppressed the anger, and that's not a good idea. All right. The author suggests the third option, and instead of getting angry and blurting it all out and getting mad and frustrated and causing more of a wreck, and then that doesn't work, he suggests a third option of converting the anger to conviction and then act on the basis of principle. Good advice. I like this chapter. This is a simple idea. Convert the anger to conviction, and what it's saying is that whenever you are being mistreated, or there's something that's bringing up some anger in you, it's usually because somebody's mistreating you badly, or you're going through something that's not right. It's unfair. It is not good. It's usually violating a principle, a good moral standard, perhaps, or just plain civic respect towards one another, and those principles are being violated, and you're catching the brunt of those kinds of behaviors. He says that when you convert that anger into conviction, you're beginning to look at what's happening to you, and you're looking at it dispassionately. You have to come to a level where you disconnect from what's going around you, and you're looking at it with your third eye. Let me explain. When we go through stuff, it's easy for us to take things personal because it's happening to us. But there's a technique you can use by looking at things and recognizing the event and not allowing it to imprint on you. So when you're going through the event, you're looking at the dynamics of everything that's going on, you're seeing the violation of the principle, and you speak of that. You don't say, oh, they're being mean to me, they hate me, they don't like me, I'm ugly, whatever, and then you make it all about you, which intensifies the problem. Counselors do this very well. They're trained to do this. When I was working in drug treatment, I can remember one of my first patients, and I was new into it. Didn't like chaplains, didn't want to have anything to do with any kind of spiritual program or anything. Boy, he let me have it. And being new into it, I was not aware of, all this kind of, disconnecting kind of thing, and looking at the dynamics and disconnecting from what's happening, not letting it be personal. I had to learn how to do that. It took me a minute. And when he left the office, because he just read me the riot act, I sat there and I thought to myself, boy, what am I doing here? I took it real personal. And so I went to a counselor. I went to one of the counselors there, and I told him what happened. And they taught me over and over, oh, yeah, Ken, he doesn't know who you are. You only met him for, 20 minutes? And he said all these things? He's reacting to something probably in his own history. And you are the opportunity he has to vent. Listen to what he has to say and respond to what he's saying. Don't take it personal. It's not about you. He doesn't know you. So when you're able to do that, then you're able to listen compassionately and understand what happens and why they're behaving this way. And this is part of what this is about, converting the anger to conviction and looking at what is really the problem that is going on. And she was being teased. It was a matter of, you don't treat people this way. It's not good to treat people this way. We need to come. And she addressed that issue. And she did. She didn't go mad. She didn't go, like he says, he didn't want to become the stereotypical hormonal female that can't fit in a workplace. That's what he says in the book. And then be the brunt of those kind of jokes. And so instead she converted it to conviction, and then she acted on the basis of principle. So getting back to what I was saying, my example, it got to the place where, and it wasn't the first time this ever happened, because it happened again and again. And I learned that, this isn't about me, that's right, because they've been through so many things. And I remembered that. And so the next time it happened, sometimes I just look and go, I wouldn't say anything. I would just let him talk, because I knew it wasn't about me. I didn't know the guy from Adam or the girl from Eve. And I let him vent. And I wouldn't respond. I wouldn't take it personal. I knew that there was probably something that was going on. This was me turning my anger, converting my anger to understanding the conviction, understanding the principle behind what was going on. He was speaking from hurt and pain. And when he saw that I wasn't going to respond to him, most of the time they would just, I'm sorry, chaplain, I didn't mean to take it on you. This ain't about you. This is my own junk. And boy, then our sessions would really go off. Because then they would get better, because then we can work through that. And you ask those questions. Well, tell me about what happened. And then they start getting into their stuff, and really became a beautiful session, and the relationship got better because I didn't take it personal. So converting the anger to conviction is allowing you to depersonalize it and look and really see what the dynamic is, and addressing the dynamic, the disrespect, the intolerance, the childishness in the office. And so she was able to address that in a humorous way, and it worked. So she converted her anger to conviction, and then she acted on the basis of principle. She looked at that scenario and she changed the whole dynamic in where she was working. Try that. You can try it at home with your kids that come home and scream and yell at you because they have an update at school, or the husband that does the same thing at work. Comes home from work and he brings his homework with him, and is short-tempered or ugly or whatever, distant because of what happened at work. And you can understand that and respond to that, and change the dynamic and get all that stuff out, so that you don't become the person owning all the junk. Because when people do that, and we say that they made me angry, they're really keying in on the old stuff that's going on with you. And when you're able to stop and look at this and do what he suggested, you're able to change the whole dynamic and even heal in your own self, and understanding a little bit more about what's going on with you, so that you can heal in the process. So some good advice. He says the results of doing this is you get clarity, you get courage and strength to take the action. When you're able to stop and look and step back and not respond immediately or react, even worse, because reacting, it's like, we're not thinking when we're reacting. When we're able to stop and slow the process down and consider what's going on, then we can get some clarity about what's going on, look at things dispassionately, take ourselves out of the equation and say, no, this isn't about me, this is about something else. This is about their childishness, this is about their whatever it is, whatever the scenario dictates. Gives you the courage to say, okay, let me approach it this way, and then the strength to take the action, to speak up and say something. So the usable insight is anger makes you wild, but conviction makes you strong. I like that. So in taking action, whenever you're confronted with something that's bringing up the anger inside you, cool off. Resist the urge to act impulsively and take some time to reflect on the situation. Slow the process down. This is a very good advice. Slow everything down. Take some time to think. There are so many things that are behind the scenes that we're not aware of, and some time to think about it and process what's going on, so you can see where you may be getting in the way. Can give you that time to get some clarity on what's going on. This is all about trying to change that whole dynamic. And then he says, ask yourselves what made you angry. The answer is usually something you regard as unfair or unreasonable, or it could be something else. They may be keying in on some old relationship that you had that just struck a chord in you, that just reminded you of that event. And you're not aware of it. So sometimes that's the case. And then he says, identify the principles that are being violated and put your convictions into words. Then you can address what's going on dispassionately, as a grown-up, respectfully, with some force, and responding and being very assertive. Not aggressive, but assertive. And then you can say your piece and make a change. And then determine the best and most creative way to stand up for your principles. Good advice. I like that. Okay, that's all I got for you. It's a very short chapter. Good chapter. Remember, getting angry only makes things worse. So angry that you make things worse. That's one of the things we do to Yeah, that gets in our way. And that is definitely one thing you do not want to do. You want to learn to get out of your way. Yeah. Alrighty, so that's all we got for tonight. Tomorrow, the next week, we're going to be talking about saying yes when you want to say no. So we'll get into that the next time. How many of y'all ever do that? Yeah, I won't get too much into that. I'll tease you with that much. Oh, by the way, I did figure out my my passcode and my username for YouTube, so these videos will also be on YouTube under the same name, Time with Chaplain Ken. I put the other ones that I did before on this playlist that you've been joining me with. I put those on the YouTube page as well. So don't forget, you can watch me on Facebook, Time with Chaplain Ken. You can watch me on YouTube and on Rumble. Yeah. And LinkedIn. I put my stuff on LinkedIn as well. And feel free to watch there, and you can look at my profile and stuff like that as well if you want to. But yeah, that's all I got. I hope it helped. I hope it works for you. Remember to slow the things down, look at the principle, get some conviction, change that anger into conviction so that you can see what's really going on, and then you can address what's going on. Remember, it's not about you all the time. And people are like her, they're teasing her at work. Yeah, they probably got some insecurities about what she's doing, and they don't even know it. Yeah. So I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and I pray God blesses you in the week to come. Remember, pay attention to yourself. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.